Soviet pilots laughed at this ugly plane until it wiped out their tanks. Imagine, you are a MiG-29 pilot, Soviet. You are at the pinnacle of technology. Mach 2. A predator of steel cutting through the sky, a supersonic spear. You look down, and you see this. The A-10 Thunderbolt. It's ugly. It's slow. It looks like a tractor with wings. A relic from another era. An engineering mistake. You laugh. In a dogfight, it's a joke. An easy target. A sitting duck. Your radar doesn't even bother to lock on. But then you realize, it's not looking at you. It doesn't care about you. It's looking at your comrades on the ground, at your tank division, the spearhead of the Red Army. And for them, this plane is no joke. It is the executioner. It is the angel of death. This is the story of the plane that was despised by generals and ridiculed by fighter pilots and became the most feared tank-killing machine in history. If this paradox has you hooked, if you feel the weight of that contradiction, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. You need to see how arrogance ends. The story begins in fear, a cold, palpable fear, at the most dangerous dividing line in the world, the Fulda Gap, West Germany, the scar of the Cold War. On one side, NATO. On the other, the Warsaw Pact. And the Soviets had an overwhelming advantage. Tanks, thousands of them, tens of thousands, a red tide of steel, T-72s, T-64s, ready to flood Europe in 72 hours. A clock that was always at midnight. America's doctrine to stop this tide. Fighters. Fast, elegant jets. The F-15. The F-16. Million-dollar machines built to dominate the sky. To be the kings of the dogfight at 30,000 feet. They were the swordsmen. But there was a problem. A fatal problem. To stop a tank, you have to see it. And at Mach 1, everything on the ground is a green blur. Fast jets are fragile. Their delicate engines suck up any debris. A single bullet from the ground can rip through their thin wings. They cannot fly low. Their delicate engines suck up any debris. The U.S. Air Force had the best swordsmen in the world. And the enemy was coming in tanks. They needed a hammer. Enter a man named Pierre Sprey, a rebel, a heretic inside the Pentagon. Part of an infamous group called the Fighter Mafia. He didn't want a fighter. He didn't care about speed, radar, or beauty. He despised complexity. He wanted one thing: a plane that could fly low, slow, that could operate from a dirt road, and survive hell. He wanted an armored tractor that could carry an apocalyptic cannon. The generals wanted the F-16, multi-role, fast, beautiful, expensive. Sprey wanted the opposite. He wanted a tool, simple, brutal, expendable. They didn't design a plane. They started with the gun, the GAU-8 Avenger, a 7-barreled Gatling cannon, the size of a Volkswagen Beetle, weighing almost 2 tons with its ammunition. A monster that fires 65 rounds per second. Shells the size of milk bottles, made of depleted uranium. A metal so dense it self-sharpens as it penetrates armor. And so hot it ignites the air inside the tank. The gun's recoil is so powerful. Over 10,000 pounds of force. It has more thrust than one of the plane's engines. If they fired it for too long, the plane would stop in mid-air. The engineering challenge was insane. How do you make this gun fly? The answer was the A-10. They built the plane literally around the cannon. The front landing gear had to be mounted sideways, because the gun takes up the entire center of the plane. The result was ugly. Ugly as sin. It had huge, straight wings for low-speed lift. It had strange, high-mounted engines. It had a twin tail for redundancy. It had a crooked nose, just so the gun would fit. The Air Force hated it. Generals called it slow, a throwback, undignified. Fighter pilots mocked it. They nicknamed it the Warthog, a dirty, stubborn animal that lives in the mud. It was an insult, contrasting with their eagles and falcons, but the name stuck, and the hog was about to show its tusks. What the Air Force saw as weakness was its brutal genius. Fighter pilots had flight suits. The A-10 pilot had armor. He sits inside a bathtub of titanium, a half-ton shell, capable of stopping direct hits from 23mm anti-aircraft cannons. The A-10 was not designed to dodge enemy fire. It was designed to fly through it. The engines? They are on the back, separated, away from ground fire. If one is hit by a missile, the other keeps running, and they protect the plane's tail. The engine exhaust is cooled to confuse heat-seeking missiles. The wings? They can be perforated. Half of one can be torn off, and the plane keeps flying. The hydraulic systems? They are doubled, separated on opposite sides of the fuselage. If they fail, there are manual steel cables, like a World War II aircraft. It's the only plane in history, built to come home broken, built to take a punch in the face, and keep fighting. Which of these ugly design choices do you find a stroke of genius? The titanium bathtub, the high-mounted engines, or the manual controls? Leave your engineering theory in the comments. We want to know what you think. For years, the Warthog flew in obscurity, mocked, almost cancelled. The generals still wanted their fast jets. The budget was cut. Until 1991. Operation Desert Storm. Saddam Hussein invades Kuwait. He has the fourth largest tank force in the world. Soviet tanks, T-72s, exactly the Cold War scenario. It was the final test. The F-15s owned the sky. The B-52s hit strategic targets. But who faced the tanks? Who went down into hell? The Warthogs. They flew low, 300 feet off the deck, into the smoke, into the bullets, and the world heard for the first time the sound. Imagine being an Iraqi tank commander. You are in the desert. You feel safe in your steel. You hear a strange hum, and then, brrrt, a roar that rips the air, like a thunderclap from God. A sound that lasts only 2 seconds, but you don't hear it. You hear the hum, and then the impact. The sound of the cannon is slower than its shells. Death arrives before the warning. When the smoke cleared, lines of tanks were on fire. Smoking wreckage, turrets blown clean off. To the MiG pilots, the A-10 was a joke. For the Iraqi tank commanders, it was the sound of the end of the world. They called it the whisper of death, because the moment you heard it, you were already dead. The results of the war shocked the Pentagon. The A-10 flew 2,000 missions and destroyed over 900 enemy tanks, over 2,000 military vehicles, over 1,200 artillery pieces. With a 95% mission capability rate, pilots came back in planes that looked like Swiss cheese, riddled with holes, with pieces of their wings missing, with damage that would have disintegrated an F-16. One pilot flew back for 100 miles, with the cockpit floor torn out by a missile blast. He landed the plane. The ugly duckling became the hero of the war. The most effective plane, the most lethal, the most beloved. Beloved by the people who mattered. Not the generals in clean rooms, but the soldiers on the ground, the infantry. For a soldier pinned down, surrounded by tanks. For a Marine in an ambush. That ugly plane flying low and slow. It was the most beautiful sight in the world. It was the cavalry arriving. Today, the Air Force still tries to retire the A-10, decade after decade. They say it's old, slow, obsolete, that it wouldn't survive against modern air defenses. They still want their expensive, invisible fighters. The F-35, a flying computer. But every time they try, the Army, the Marines, the infantrymen, protest so fiercely in Congress that they save the plane, because they know, when you are on the ground, when the enemy is 100 yards away, and the steel is coming for you, you don't want an invisible dancer at 40,000 feet? You want the hog? You want the BRRT? The story of the A-10 is a brutal lesson. A lesson about arrogance and about the truth. That form follows function. That beauty is irrelevant. And that purpose is everything. This plane was never built to please the eye. It was built to win wars and to bring its pilots home. The executioner, the protector, the warthog. If this story about function over form made you think, imagine the other engineering legends we are about to uncover. Subscribe and activate the notifications. Our journey is just beginning. And check out this next video. The story of a machine that should never have existed.